Right now, someone is trying to make you react. Maybe it is a message sitting on your phone that you have read 4 times already. Maybe it is a look someone gave you this morning, a look that said more than any sentence could. Maybe it is the memory of something they said to you last week, words that are still circling inside your head like wolves that refuse to leave. And every single cell in your body is screaming at you. Respond. Defend yourself. Prove them wrong. Show them who you really are. Hit back. Say something. Do something. Anything. But here is what 2,000 years of ancient philosophy has been trying to whisper into your ear. Here is what the most powerful emperors, the wisest teachers, and the most dangerous minds in human history already understood long before you and I were born. The moment you react, you lose, not sometimes, not in certain situations, not when the stakes are high, every single time, without exception. The very second you allow someone else to change what is happening inside you, you have handed them the keys to a kingdom they did not build, they do not deserve, and they will never protect. A reaction is not strength. I need you to understand this. A reaction is not passion. A reaction is not honesty. A reaction is surrender. It is the white flag your soul waves when it has forgotten who is in charge. And today, in this video, I am going to give you something that will change the way you move through this world for the rest of your life. Not a trick, not a shortcut, not some 5-step method you will forget by tomorrow morning. I am going to give you a philosophy, a way of seeing, a way of breathing, a way of standing in the middle of chaos while everything around you is burning, and feeling nothing but stillness inside your chest. This is the power of not reacting. And once you understand it, truly understand it, no one will ever control you again. Do not leave. Do not skip ahead. Every word in this video was chosen carefully, and every sentence builds on the one before it. By the time we reach the end, you will be someone different. Not because I changed you, but because you finally stopped letting everyone else do it. Let us begin. There is a question I want you to sit with for a moment. It is not a comfortable question. It is not the kind of thing you hear in casual conversation. But it is the most important question you will ever ask yourself, and most people go their entire lives without ever confronting it. Who is in control of your emotions right now? Not who should be. Not who you wish it was. Who actually is. Right now. Today. This morning, when you woke up, who decided whether you would feel peaceful or anxious? When you checked your phone, who decided whether your mood would rise or fall? When someone at work made that comment, who decided whether it would ruin your afternoon or slide off you like water off stone? If the honest answer is not, I am, then you are living as a passenger in your own life. You are sitting in the back seat of a car that has your name on the registration, and someone else has their hands on the wheel. They decide when you turn. They decide when you brake. They decide when you crash. And the worst part, the part that should make you angry enough to change, is that these people do not even know they are driving. They are not master manipulators. They are not evil geniuses. Most of them are just ordinary, careless, distracted human beings who stumble through life saying whatever comes to mind, doing whatever feels easy. And they have no idea that their words are rearranging the furniture inside your soul. That is what reacting costs you. Not just a bad moment. Not just a ruined afternoon. It costs you sovereignty. It costs you the throne of your own inner kingdom. And once you give that up, everything else falls apart. Your decisions become reactions. Your relationships become battlefields. Your peace becomes something that depends on whether everyone around you decides to behave themselves today. That is no way to live. And the ancient Stoics knew it. Let me take you back. So 2,300 years ago, in the noisy, crowded, chaotic streets of Athens, a merchant named Zeno of Citium received the worst news of his life. His ship had sunk. Not a small boat with a few crates of goods, his entire fleet. Every piece of silk, every jar of olive oil, every barrel of wine, every coin he had earned through years of careful, patient work, all of it was at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. In one day, Zeno went from wealthy to worthless, from respected to pitied, from a man with a future to a man with nothing but the clothes on his back and the dust between his sandals. Now, most people in that situation would have reacted. They would have screamed. They would have cursed the gods. They would have fallen to their knees and wept. They would have found someone to blame. The captain, the sailors, the weather, a fate itself. That is what reaction looks like when life hits you. It is loud, it is desperate, and it changes absolutely nothing. But Zeno did not react. He walked. Slowly, deliberately, with purpose, he walked to a painted porch in the center of Athens. A stoa, the Greeks called it. And he sat down. And instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" he asked a question that would give birth to one of the most powerful philosophical traditions in human history. He asked, "What can never be taken from me?" Not what can I get back? Not how do I recover what I lost? What can never be taken? That question changed everything. Because the answer, when you sit with it long enough, is shocking in its simplicity. They can take your money. They can take your reputation. They can take your health, your comfort, your home, your status, or your friends, your plans, your dreams. They can take everything that exists outside of you, but they cannot take your mind. They cannot take the way you interpret what happens. They cannot reach inside your skull and force you to feel a certain way. They can create the conditions for suffering, but they cannot make you suffer. That final step, that last inch between event and experience, belongs to you and you alone. And that is where Stoicism begins. Not in a library, not in a classroom. In the ashes of a man who lost everything and discovered that the most important thing was the one thing that could not be lost. From that painted porch, a principle emerged that would echo across 2,000 years of human history, that would guide emperors and slaves alike, that would survive the fall of Greece, the rise and collapse of Rome, or the darkness of the Middle Ages, and arrive here, now, in this moment between you and me. The principle is this: it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Let that sink in. Do not rush past it. Do not treat it like another motivational quote you have heard 100 times. This sentence is a key, and the door it opens leads to a room where you are finally, completely, permanently free. It is not things that disturb us. It is not the insult. It is not the betrayal. It is not the rejection. It is not the failure. It is not the loss. These are events. They happen in the external world. They are made of sound and matter and circumstance. They exist whether you are there to witness them or not. What disturbs you is your judgment about them, the story you tell yourself, the meaning you attach, the weight you assign. That is where suffering is manufactured, not out there, in here, inside the walls of your own mind. And if suffering is manufactured inside your mind, then you are the factory owner. You can shut the machines down whenever you choose. This is not about suppressing your emotions. I want to be very clear about that, because this is where most people misunderstand Stoicism completely. The Stoics were not robots. Marcus Aurelius wept when his children died. Seneca felt fear when Nero turned against him. Epictetus felt the pain of his broken leg for the rest of his life. They felt everything. Every single human emotion passed through them, just as it passes through you. The difference is what happened after the feeling arrived. For most people, the feeling arrives and immediately takes the wheel. Anger arrives, and they become anger. For fear arrives, and they become fear. Sadness arrives, and they become sadness. They are consumed. They are possessed. They lose themselves in the emotion the way a swimmer loses themselves in a current that is too strong. But the Stoics did something different. The feeling arrived, and they watched it. They observed it the way a scientist observes a specimen under a microscope. They acknowledged it. They understood it. And then, calmly, deliberately, with full awareness, they chose what to do with it. That is the gap. That is the space between event and reaction that Zeno discovered on the painted porch. That is the most valuable piece of real estate in the entire universe of human experience. And most people do not even know it exists, because we have been trained to react. From the moment we are born, the world teaches us that emotions are meant to be expressed immediately, loudly, without filter. Cry when you are sad. Scream when you are angry. Celebrate when you are happy. React, react, react. The world rewards reaction. Social media rewards reaction. Entertainment rewards reaction. Every system you interact with is designed to provoke a response from you, because your response is their currency. Every time you react to a headline, an algorithm profits. Every time you react to a comment, someone feels powerful. Every time you react to a provocation, the person who provoked you gets exactly what they wanted. You are not responding. You are being harvested. And the only way to stop being harvested is to reclaim the gap. To stand in the space between what happens and what you do about it, and to realize that this space is yours. It has always been yours. No one can enter it without your permission. No one can collapse it without your consent. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than perhaps anyone who has ever lived. And he had more reason to react than any of us ever will. He was the Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the known world. He commanded legions that stretched from the gray coasts of Britain to the burning sands of Mesopotamia. Every day, people lied to him. Generals plotted against him. Senators whispered behind his back. His own co-emperor, the man he was supposed to trust with his life, indulged in corruption and excess, while Marcus carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. And every night, after the politics and the battles and the betrayals, Marcus sat alone in his tent with a candle and a journal. And he did not write about revenge. He did not write about how to punish those who wronged him. He did not plan retaliation or draft angry letters. He wrote to himself, quietly, honestly, like a man having a conversation with his own soul. "You have power over your mind," he wrote, "not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Not military strength, not political strength, not the kind of strength that comes from commanding armies, the kind of strength that comes from commanding yourself, the strength to stand in the center of a storm and feel the wind on your face and choose, with full consciousness, not to be moved. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it," he wrote on another night. Think about that. He was telling himself that the reaction is always more destructive than the thing that triggered it. The insult stings for a moment, but the anger it creates, if you let it in, burns for hours, days, weeks, sometimes years. You have felt this. You know exactly what I am talking about. Someone said something to you once, maybe months ago, maybe years ago, and you still replay it. You still hear their voice. You still feel the heat in your chest. The event lasted 5 seconds. Your reaction has lasted 5 years. That is the tax you pay for reacting. And the interest compounds every single day. Now, Here is the question that should keep you awake tonight. What if you had not reacted? What if, in that moment, you had taken a breath, recognized the gap, and chosen to stay still? Not because you are weak, not because you are afraid, but because you understood, with the clarity of a Roman emperor writing by candlelight, that your peace is worth more than their provocation. What would your life look like right now if you had made that choice? Not just once, but every time. Every single time someone tried to pull a reaction out of you, like a fisherman pulling a fish from water. What if you had simply refused to bite? That is where we are going. That is what this video is about. Not the theory of non-reaction, the practice of it. The daily, moment-by-moment, breath-by-breath discipline of choosing stillness over chaos, presence over panic, and power over performance. Because the less you react, the more powerful you become. And this is not just a saying. This is a law, as real and as unbreakable as gravity. Let me show you why. There is a phenomenon in psychology that researchers call emotional contagion. It is the scientific term for something you already know instinctively. Emotions are contagious. When someone near you is angry, you feel a pull toward anger. When someone near you is anxious, your own nervous system starts to mirror theirs. We are wired for this. It is built into our biology, hardwired into our mirror neurons, embedded in millions of years of evolution. This served our ancestors well. When one member of the tribe sensed danger and reacted with fear, the fear spread instantly to everyone else. No one needed to explain what was happening. The emotion transmitted like a signal, and the whole group mobilized. React together, survive together. But here is the problem. We no longer live in the savannah. We no longer face tigers in the grass. The threats we face today are not physical. They are psychological. They are emotional. They are social. And the ancient wiring that once saved our lives now destroys them. Because emotional contagion does not distinguish between a real threat and a manufactured one. When someone yells at you, your nervous system responds as if a predator is charging. When someone criticizes you online, your body releases cortisol as if you are under physical attack. When someone gives you a look of contempt, your brain processes it with the same neural pathways it would use to process a slap across the face. You are walking through the modern world with an ancient operating system. And every time you react without thinking, you are running survival software in a situation that requires wisdom software. The Stoics did not have the language of neuroscience. They did not know about cortisol or mirror neurons or the amygdala, but they understood the principle perfectly. They observed that human beings are reactive by default, and they developed a systematic practice for overriding that default. They called it prososh, attention. The discipline of watching your own mind, the way a guard watches the gate of a city. Not every thought gets in. Not every emotion gets the keys to the castle. You stand at the gate, and you examine each one as it arrives. You ask, is this mine? Did I choose this? Does this serve me? Or did someone throw this over the wall, hoping I would pick it up? Most of the emotions that ruin your day were thrown over the wall. Someone else's bad mood, someone else's insecurity, and someone else's need to feel powerful by making you feel small. These are not your emotions. They are packages delivered to your door that you never ordered. And you have every right, every philosophical, psychological, and moral right to refuse delivery. This is what non-reaction looks like from the inside. It is not suppression. It is not denial. It is the act of a conscious, sovereign human being examining what arrives at their gate and making a deliberate decision about what to let in. And when you practice this, truly practice it, day after day, moment after moment, something extraordinary begins to happen. The people who used to control you with their moods, their criticisms, their provocations, their silent treatments, their passive-aggressive comments. They start to lose their power. Not slowly, rapidly. See, because their power was never real. It was borrowed. It was loaned to them by your reactions. And when you stop lending it, they go bankrupt. You will see it in their eyes, the confusion, the frustration. They will push harder. They will say worse things. They will escalate because the old tricks are not working anymore, and they do not understand why. They are pressing a button that used to produce a reliable result, and now nothing happens. And that silence, that non-reaction, that calm, still, unshakable presence, that is the most terrifying thing a reactive person can encounter, because it means they have lost control, not of you, of the only tool they ever had. There is a story about Epictetus that I want you to hear. Epictetus was not born free. He was born into slavery. His very name, Epictetus, is not even a real name. It means acquired. He was a piece of property, a thing to be used and discarded. His master was a man named Epaphroditus, who had been a slave himself before rising to become a secretary to the Emperor Nero. And Epaphroditus, like many who gain power after being powerless, was cruel. He enjoyed causing pain. He enjoyed watching others suffer. One day, Epaphroditus began twisting Epictetus's leg, slowly, deliberately, not in a fit of rage, but with the calm, cold precision of a man who wants to watch someone break. And as the bone began to crack, Epictetus looked at his master and said, calmly, without raising his voice, "You are going to break it." Epaphroditus kept twisting. The bone snapped. Epictetus, in the same calm voice, said, "I told you so." No screaming. No begging. No tears. Not because he did not feel the pain. He felt every fracture, every splinter of bone, every nerve ending on fire. But he refused, with every fiber of his being, he refused to give Epaphroditus what he wanted. He refused to react. And in that moment, something shifted. Because the master, the man with all the physical power, realized that he had none of the real power. He could break the leg, but he could not break the man. He could destroy the body, but he could not touch the mind. He could cause pain, but he could not cause surrender. That is non-reaction at its most extreme. And I am not telling you this story so that you can endure physical torture. I am telling you this story so that the next time someone makes a rude comment at dinner, the next time someone ignores your message, the next time someone tries to make you feel small with a look or a tone or a silence, you can remember that a man whose leg was being broken in front of him didn't react. And you can find the perspective to realize that whatever you are facing right now is survivable. More than survivable. It is an opportunity. Every provocation is a test. And every time you pass that test, every time you choose stillness over chaos, you become stronger. Not in the way a muscle becomes stronger from exercise, in the way a diamond becomes harder from pressure. The pressure does not weaken you. It restructures you. It makes you into something that cannot be scratched by ordinary forces. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not something to react to. It is something to absorb, to integrate, to use. The person who insults you is doing you a favor. They are giving you an opportunity to practice the most valuable skill a human being can develop. They are handing you a weight, and every time you lift it without flinching, your capacity for peace grows. So I want you to reframe everything. Starting now, starting this second. Every difficult person in your life is not a problem. They are a training partner. Every frustrating situation is not a setback, it is a repetition. Every moment that tempts you to react is not a threat. It is an invitation to become something greater than you were 5 seconds ago. The less you react, the more powerful you become. And we are just getting started. There is a part of your body that has caused you more damage than any enemy ever could. It has destroyed relationships that took years to build. It has closed doors that were about to open. It has turned allies into enemies, opportunities into disasters, and moments of potential greatness into memories of regret. Your mouth. Not your fists. Not your feet. Your mouth. The words that come out of it when you are angry. The sentences you construct when you feel threatened. The defensive speeches you deliver when your ego is bruised. The sarcastic comments you fire when you want to feel clever. The confessions you make when you are emotional. The promises you break when you are desperate. The truths you tell at the wrong time. The lies you tell to the wrong people. Your mouth has been your most expensive liability. Why, and until you learn to control it, it will continue to cost you everything. The Stoics understood this with surgical precision. Zeno himself, the founder of Stoicism, said something that I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say. That is not just clever wordplay. That is architecture. That is the design of the human body telling you, through its very structure, what the ratio should be. Listen twice as much as you speak. Observe twice as much as you declare. Absorb twice as much as you project. But we live in a world that has inverted this ratio completely. We live in a world where everyone is talking and no one is listening, where the loudest voice wins the argument but loses the respect, where people share every thought, every opinion, and every reaction, every grievance, every moment of their lives as if silence were a disease that must be cured. Social media has turned us into reaction machines. Something happens, and within seconds, millions of mouths open simultaneously. Opinions fly like arrows. Judgments are passed before the facts arrive. People react to headlines they have not read, to situations they do not understand, to people they have never met. And every reaction feeds the machine. Every comment, every reply, every argument generates engagement, generates profit, generates more provocation, to generate more reactions. You are not participating in a conversation. You are being milked. Your reactions are the product. Your emotions are the raw material. And every time you open your mouth without thinking, you are working for free in a factory that you do not own. The Stoic response to this is devastatingly simple. Speak only when your words improve upon the silence. Let me say that again, because it is the single most powerful communication principle ever articulated. Speak only when your words improve upon the silence. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself one question. Is what I am about to say better than the silence that currently exists? Not different from it. Better than it. Will this sentence create more understanding, more connection, more progress? Or will it simply fill the air with noise that satisfies my ego for 3 seconds and costs me for 3 years? If the answer is no, if what you are about to say does not genuinely improve the situation, then stay quiet. Close your mouth. Let the silence speak for you. Because silence, when wielded by someone who understands it, isn't empty. It is the most powerful sound in any room. Think about the people who have truly intimidated you in your life. I'm not talking about the people who screamed the loudest. Those people are easy to dismiss. They are performing. Their anger is a show. The truly intimidating people, the ones who made you feel something deep in your gut, the ones whose presence changed the temperature of the room, Those people were quiet. They listened. They watched. They observed. And when they finally spoke, the room went silent. Not because they raised their voice, because they had earned the silence. They had accumulated so much power through their restraint that when they chose to break it, every word carried the weight of 100 unspoken ones. This is the paradox of silence. The less you speak, the more your words are worth. Every time you stay quiet when you could have spoken, you are depositing into an account. And when you finally make a withdrawal, when you finally open your mouth and say something, the value of that withdrawal is enormous. Conversely, the more you speak, the cheaper your words become. Think about the people in your life who never stop talking, who always have an opinion, who always have a response, who fill every silence with sound. What happens when they speak? Nothing. Everyone tunes out. Their words have been devalued by overproduction. They have flooded the market with their opinions, and now each one is worth less than the breath it was carried on. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher and advisor to the Emperor Nero, wrote about this with characteristic precision. "We are more often frightened than hurt," he wrote, "and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." This applies directly to speech. Most of the things we feel compelled to say are responses to imagined threats. Someone makes a comment, and our imagination turns it into an attack. Someone looks at us a certain way, and our mind constructs an entire narrative of disrespect. And then we react, we speak, based not on what actually happened, but on the story our imagination created. This is why silence is so powerful. It interrupts the cycle. When you choose not to speak, you create a pause. And in that pause, your imagination calms down. The story dissolves. The threat reveals itself to be much smaller than it appeared. And you realize that the words you almost said, the defensive speech, the angry retort, the emotional confession, would have been a response to something that existed only in your mind. How many relationships have been damaged by words spoken in response to imagined threats? How many friendships have ended because someone said something in a moment of reactive emotion that they didn't actually mean? How many opportunities have been lost because someone could not resist the urge to have the last word, to prove a point, to win an argument that, in the end, was not worth winning? The cost of unnecessary speech is incalculable. It is one of the greatest sources of suffering in human life. And the solution is not learning what to say. It is learning when to say nothing. I want you to try something. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. The next time someone says something that makes your blood warm, I want you to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let the sentence hang in the air. Let the silence grow. Watch the other person's face as they realize that their provocation has landed on empty ground. Do not explain yourself. Do not defend yourself. Do not argue. Do not clarify. Just exist. Just breathe. Just stand there with the calm, quiet, unshakable presence of someone who has decided that their peace is not for sale. And watch what happens. The first thing you will notice is discomfort. Not in them, in you, because you have been trained to respond. Your entire nervous system is calibrated for reaction. Staying quiet when you want to speak feels like holding your breath underwater. Every instinct screams at you to surface, to gasp, to fill the silence with something, anything. But if you hold on, if you stay under for just a few seconds longer than you think you can, something shifts, the discomfort passes, and in its place arrives something you may not have felt in a very long time. Control. Not control over them, control over yourself. The realization that you can feel the urge to react and choose not to. that the urge is not a command, it is a suggestion, and you are free to decline. This is what Epictetus was teaching when he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom is not the absence of chains. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. Freedom is the ability to choose your response. And the highest expression of that freedom is the ability to choose silence when every part of you is screaming for noise. Yet there is a military concept called strategic ambiguity. It is used by nations, by commanders, by intelligence agencies around the world. The idea is simple. When your opponent does not know what you are thinking, they cannot predict what you will do. And when they cannot predict what you will do, they cannot prepare. They are forced to consider every possibility, to defend against every scenario, to spread their resources across 1,000 hypothetical threats. Silence operates the same way in interpersonal dynamics. When you do not reveal your thoughts, the other person is forced to fill in the blanks with their own imagination. And their imagination, in most cases, will construct something far more intimidating than anything you could have said. Think about it. When someone insults you and you fire back, they know exactly where you stand. They know what bothers you. They know your vulnerabilities. They know your triggers. Your reaction is a map of your weaknesses, and you have just handed it to your opponent for free. But when someone insults you and you say nothing, when you look at them with calm eyes and a steady expression, and you let the silence fill the space between you, they are terrified, because they do not know what you are thinking. They do not know if you are angry or amused or planning something or completely indifferent. They have no data, no feedback, no map. They are navigating blind, and a person navigating blind makes mistakes. They overextend. They say too much. They reveal their own insecurities. They escalate when they should retreat. They expose themselves precisely because they cannot stand the silence, precisely because they need your reaction to know where they are. Your silence makes them lose their footing. Your non-reaction pulls the ground out from under them. And you didn't have to say a single word. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this from the perspective of a man who sat in councils with senators, who lied to his face, who flattered him one moment and plotted against him the next. The best revenge, he wrote, is not to be like your enemy. He did not say the best revenge is to destroy your enemy. He did not say it is to outsmart them, outmaneuver them, or prove them wrong. He said it is to not become them, to refuse to adopt their methods, to refuse to descend to their level, to remain yourself, calm, principled, unmoved, while they exhaust themselves trying to drag you into their chaos. That is silence as a philosophy, not the absence of words, the presence of power. Let me tell you about a study that was conducted at a major university. Researchers put participants in a negotiation exercise. One group was told to respond immediately to every offer and counteroffer. The other group was told to pause for at least 10 seconds before responding. Just 10 seconds. A brief gap of silence. The results were striking. The group that paused consistently achieved better outcomes. They got better deals. They made fewer concessions. They were perceived as more competent, more confident, and more trustworthy by their negotiation partners. 10 seconds of silence made them more powerful. Now imagine what would happen if you applied this not just to a negotiation exercise, but to your entire life. If every time someone said something, you paused, not for 10 seconds. That is for beginners. For as long as you needed. For as long as it took to examine the situation clearly, to identify whether a response was truly necessary, and to craft a response that served your interests rather than your emotions. You would become untouchable, not because you are cold, not because you are detached, because you are deliberate, because every word that comes out of your mouth has been chosen with the same care that an architect uses to place a stone. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is accidental. Every syllable serves a purpose. This is what the Stoics meant when they talked about living deliberately. It is not just about your actions. It is about your words. Because words are actions. Every sentence you speak creates a consequence. Every phrase you utter sets something in motion. And if you are careless with your language, you will be careless with your life. So here is your first discipline, your first practice. Starting today, you speak less. Not a little less, dramatically less. Cut your daily word count in half. Then cut it in half again. Fill the space you use to fill with opinions, complaints, explanations, and defenses with something far more valuable. Silence, observation, thought. Watch what happens to your relationships when you stop flooding them with words. Watch what happens to your reputation when people realize that you only speak when you have something worth saying. Watch what happens to your inner state when you stop externally processing every thought and start internally digesting them first. You will become sharper, calmer, more respected, more feared. Not because you threatened anyone, but because a person who can control their mouth can control anything. And that is just the beginning. Now that we have sealed the mouth, we go deeper. Beneath the words, beneath the silence, there is something that drives everything. Something that most people are completely unconscious of, even as it runs their entire lives like an invisible operating system running in the background of a computer. Your mood, your emotional state, the undercurrent of feeling that colors every perception, every decision, every interaction, every moment of every day. Most people believe their mood is something that happens to them. They wake up, and their mood is waiting for them like the weather. Sunny or cloudy, warm or cold, and just as unchangeable. I'm in a bad mood today, they say, as if they are reporting a meteorological fact, as if the mood descended from the sky and attached itself to them without their consent, as if there is nothing to be done but wait for it to pass, like a storm. This is a lie. One of the most damaging lies that people tell themselves, and it is a lie that keeps them permanently enslaved. Your mood is not the weather. Your mood is a fire, and you are the one holding the matches. You decide what fuel to feed it. You decide how high the flames grow. You decide whether it warms you or burns everything around you to the ground. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years before modern psychology confirmed it. They understood that emotions are not things that happen to you. They are things that happen in you. And the distinction, the difference between those two words, to and in, is the difference between slavery and freedom. When you believe emotions happen to you, you are a victim. You are at the mercy of external forces. Someone is rude, and sadness happens to you. Someone succeeds while you fail, and jealousy happens to you. Someone leaves, and despair happens to you. You are a leaf in the wind, blown this way and that by forces you cannot see and cannot control. But when you understand that emotions happen in you, that they are generated by your own mind, fueled by your own interpretations, sustained by your own attention, everything changes. Because if you are the one generating them, you are the one who can stop generating them. You are not a leaf in the wind. You are the wind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This is one of the most precise psychological observations ever made by anyone, in any century. He is telling you that your habitual thoughts literally color your emotional experience. If you habitually think about threats, you will live in a world that feels threatening. If you habitually think about what you lack, you will live in a world that feels impoverished. If you habitually think about what others have done wrong, you will live in a world that feels hostile. And the terrifying thing is, you will be right. Not because the world is actually threatening, impoverished, or hostile, but because your mind has become so skilled at finding evidence for its beliefs that it will filter reality to match your expectations. This is what psychologists call confirmation bias. But Marcus Aurelius discovered it 18 centuries earlier, sitting alone in his tent, writing by the light of a single candle. Your thoughts create your mood. Your mood creates your perception. Your perception creates your reality. This is not mysticism. This is not positive thinking nonsense. This is the architecture of human experience, as described by a man who ruled the largest empire in the world and still spent his evenings trying to understand the territory of his own mind. So if you want to control your mood, you must control your thoughts. Not by suppressing them, not by pretending negative thoughts do not exist, but by developing the discipline to observe them, evaluate them, and choose which ones you will entertain. Imagine your mind as a house. Thoughts arrive at the front door like visitors. Some are welcome. Thoughts of gratitude, purpose, clarity, love. These visitors nourish you. They make the house warmer, brighter, stronger. But other visitors arrive too. Thoughts of resentment, self-pity, jealousy, rage, despair. These visitors do not nourish you. They consume you. They eat your food, break your furniture, and set fire to the curtains. And if you let them in, if you open the door without asking who is there, they will destroy your house from the inside. Prosoche, the Stoic practice of attention, is the act of standing at the door and checking the credentials of every thought before you let it in. Is this thought true? Is it useful? Does it serve the person I am trying to become? Or is it a disguised intruder wearing the mask of something familiar? Most negative thoughts are intruders wearing familiar masks. The thought, "They do not respect me," wears the mask of self-awareness. The thought, "I am not good enough," wears the mask of humility. The thought, "Everything is falling apart," wears the mask of realism. They look legitimate. They sound legitimate. But when you examine them carefully, when you hold them up to the light and look at them from every angle, you realize they are distortions. They are your mind's habit of catastrophizing, personalizing, and generalizing. 3 cognitive biases that operate automatically unless you intervene. Catastrophizing, taking a single negative event and projecting it into infinity. Your boss criticized one report, and your mind says, "I am going to get fired. I will never find another job. My career is over. My life is ruined." One event has become the apocalypse. Personalizing, taking something that has nothing to do with you and making it about you. Your friend did not respond to your message, and your mind says, "They are ignoring me. They do not care about me. No one cares about me." Their phone might be dead. They might be busy. They might not have seen the message. But your mind skipped all of those possibilities and went straight to the one that causes the most suffering. Generalizing, taking a single instance and treating it as a universal truth. You failed one exam, and your mind says, "I always fail. I am a failure. I will never succeed at anything." One exam, one moment, and your mind has written it across the sky in letters a mile high. These are the visitors at your door. These are the thoughts that, if you let them in, will destroy your mood, your motivation, your relationships, and your life. And they will do it while wearing masks that make you think they are your friends. The Stoic practice is simple, though not easy. It is this: When a thought arrives, pause. Do not immediately believe it. Do not immediately act on it. Do not immediately share it. Pause. Examine it. Hold it at arm's length and look at it the way you would look at a stranger who knocked on your door at 3 in the morning. Ask, is this true? Not, does it feel true? Because feelings are not evidence. Is this actually, factually, verifiably true? Can you prove it? If you cannot prove it, it is an opinion. And opinions are optional. You are not obligated to entertain every opinion your mind produces. Ask, is this useful? Even if it is true, does thinking about it serve you? Does it move you closer to the person you want to become? Does it help you solve a problem, improve a situation, or grow? If not, it is a luxury you cannot afford. Truth without utility is just noise. I ask, is this mine? Did you generate this thought, or did someone give it to you? Is this your own assessment of your life, or is it an echo of something someone said to you once? A parent, a teacher, a partner, a bully that lodged itself in your mind and has been playing on repeat ever since. So many of the thoughts we believe are ours were planted by other people. The belief that you are not smart enough was planted by a teacher who graded you harshly. The belief that you are not attractive enough was planted by a culture that sells products by making you feel inadequate. The belief that you do not deserve love was planted by someone who did not know how to give it. These are not your thoughts. They are parasites, and you have been feeding them with your attention for years. Stop feeding them. Let them starve. When they knock at your door, look at them clearly and say, "You are not mine. I did not invite you, and you are not welcome here." Epictetus, who knew more about mental freedom than perhaps anyone who has ever lived, said this, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And then he added something even more powerful. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Take the rest as it happens. Not resist it. Not fight it. Not argue with it. Take it. Accept it. Let it be what it is without adding your suffering to it. Because the event itself is neutral. It is your judgment, your reaction, that turns it into a catastrophe. I want to give you a practice now. Something concrete. Something you can do today, tonight, tomorrow morning, and for the rest of your life. Every morning, before you look at your phone, before you read a single message, before you let the external world pour its noise into your mind, sit in silence for 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. And during those 2 minutes, make a conscious decision about what emotional state you will carry through the day. Not a wish, not a hope, a decision. The same way you decide what clothes to put on, decide what mood to put on. Choose deliberately. Say to yourself, silently but firmly, "Today, I choose calm. Today, I choose clarity. Today, I choose to respond rather than react. Today, my inner state belongs to me and no one else." This is not affirmation nonsense. This is what Marcus Aurelius did every single morning of his life. He wrote in his Meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, and tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He did not say this to be pessimistic. He said it to be prepared. By anticipating the provocations, he removed their power. By expecting difficulty, he ensured that difficulty would not catch him by surprise. And then he added, "But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood and birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. None of them can hurt me, not because he is invincible, not because he doesn't feel, because he has already decided, before the day begins, that his inner state is his own. He has already put on his armor, not the armor of a soldier, but the armor of a philosopher, the armor of a mind that has been trained to observe without being consumed. This is emotional sovereignty. This is what it means to own your mood rather than rent it from whatever circumstances you happen to encounter. And it is available to you right now, not after years of study, not after some mystical awakening. Right now. The only thing standing between you and emotional freedom is the decision to take it. Let me tell you about Seneca's exile. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most influential men in Rome, was exiled to the island of Corsica by the Emperor Claudius. Overnight, he went from the center of power to the edge of the world, from marble halls to barren rock, from influence to isolation. For 8 years, Seneca lived on that island, 8 years of exile, 8 years away from everything he had built, everyone he knew, every comfort he had enjoyed. And during those 8 years, he did not rage against his fate. He did not spiral into bitterness. He did not spend his days plotting revenge against the emperor who sent him there. He wrote, he thought, he studied. He produced some of the most profound philosophical works in human history. His letters from exile contained some of the most precise, beautiful, and useful advice ever written about how to maintain your peace when everything external has been taken from you. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, he wrote from Corsica. What I advise you to do is not to be unhappy before the crisis comes, since it may be that the dangers before which you paled as if they were threatening you, so will never come upon you. He was telling his reader, and telling himself, that most suffering is anticipatory. It happens before the actual event. Your mind races ahead and creates a horror movie about the future, and then you suffer through the movie as if it were real. You lose sleep over conversations that never happen. You feel pain over rejections that never come. You mourn losses that have not occurred. And meanwhile, the present moment, the only moment that actually exists, passes by unnoticed, unused, wasted on a future that lives only in your imagination. This is the cruelest trick your mind plays on you. It steals the present by selling you a nightmare about the future. And the price of admission is your peace, your calm, your ability to be here, now, in this moment, breathing, alive, capable. The Stoic antidote is what they called the discipline of the present. Focus only on what is in front of you, not what happened yesterday, not what might happen tomorrow, what is happening now, this breath, this moment, this decision, this word, this step. When you live in the present, there is nothing to react to, because in the present, right now, you are fine. Your body is breathing. Your heart is beating. You are alive. Whatever storm exists in your life exists in the past or the future. It does not exist here. And here is the only place you have any power. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. You do not need to solve tomorrow's problems today, and you do not need to feel tomorrow's pain today. You do not need to carry the weight of a future that has not arrived. All you need to do is handle this moment. And you can. You always can. Because one moment is never too heavy to carry. It is only when you stack 1,000 moments on top of each other, piling yesterday's regret on top of tomorrow's fear, on top of next year's anxiety, that the weight becomes unbearable. Put the stack down. Carry only this moment. It is light enough. Here is something I need you to understand about your mood that most people will never grasp. Your mood is a signal, not a sentence. When you feel angry, The anger is telling you something, that a boundary has been crossed, that a value has been violated, that something needs to change. That is useful information. But the anger itself is not the solution. It is the alarm, not the fire truck. If you confuse the alarm with the solution, you will spend your life reacting to alarms instead of solving problems. The Stoic approach is to hear the alarm, acknowledge it, and then calmly, deliberately, walk to the source of the fire and address it with reason. Not with more fire, not with panic, with reason. When you feel jealous, the jealousy is telling you that there is something you desire and do not yet have. That is useful information. But acting on jealousy, comparing, resenting, diminishing others, is not the solution. The solution is to use that information to clarify what you want, and then build a plan to get it. When you feel afraid, the fear is telling you that you perceive a threat. That is useful information. But surrendering to fear, avoiding, hiding, or retreating is not the solution. The solution is to examine the threat, determine whether it is real or imagined, and then respond proportionally. Emotions are data, not directives. They inform you. They don't instruct you. And the moment you start treating them as instructions, the moment you do whatever your emotions tell you to do, you have surrendered your sovereignty to the most irrational, impulsive, short-sighted part of your mind. This is why reactive people make terrible decisions, not because they are unintelligent, but because they are making decisions with the wrong tool. They are using emotions to solve problems that require reason. It is like using a hammer to perform surgery. The tool is not designed for the task, and the results are predictably catastrophic. The discipline of mood control is this: feel everything, follow nothing. Let every emotion arrive. Acknowledge it. Understand it. Learn from it. And then set it down the way you would set down a heavy bag after a long walk. You do not pretend the bag does not exist. You do not deny you were carrying it. You simply recognize that you have arrived at your destination, and you no longer need to carry it. This is not coldness. This is mastery. This is the difference between a person who is controlled by fire and a person who has learned to use it. Everything we have discussed so far, the silence, the emotional discipline, the sovereignty of your inner world, would be incomplete if we did not talk about the place where most people's Stoic philosophy collapses entirely. Money. You can be silent when someone insults you. You can be calm when someone betrays you. And you can be centered when the world seems chaotic. But the moment money enters the equation, the moment your bank account drops, the moment an opportunity for wealth appears, the moment someone flashes their success in your face, watch how quickly your discipline evaporates. Money is the ultimate test of non-reaction, because money is not just currency. Money is survival. Money is status. Money is safety. Money is the difference in most people's minds between a life that works and a life that does not. And because we have attached so much meaning to money, our reactions to it are proportionally enormous. When you lose money, you do not just feel the financial loss. You feel the loss of safety, the loss of control, the loss of the future you had planned. When you see someone else gain money, someone who, in your opinion, deserves it less than you do not just feel envy. You feel injustice, inadequacy, and a deep, gnawing question about whether the universe is fair. Money activates every survival instinct we have, and survival instincts are the hardest to override. But the Stoics had something to say about this too. And what they said was radical then, and it is still radical now. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, a man who owned vineyards, estates, and more gold than most people could count, wrote this: It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who hankers after more. Read that again. Poverty is not a number. Poverty is a mindset. You can have $1 million in your account and feel poor because someone else has 10 million. You can have 10 million and feel poor because someone else has 100 million. The number never satisfies because the hunger was never about the number. The hunger is about the story you are telling yourself about what money means. For most people, money means security. And the pursuit of security is a pursuit that never ends, because there is always another threat, always another risk, always another reason to believe that you do not have enough. You are chasing a horizon, and no matter how fast you run, it moves at exactly the same speed. This is the reactive approach to money. It is driven by fear, by comparison, by the need to feel safe in a world that offers no guarantees. And it produces a particular kind of misery, the misery of abundance without contentment, and the misery of having more than your grandparents could have imagined and still feeling like it is not enough. The Stoic approach is fundamentally different. It begins with a question that cuts through all the noise. What is actually necessary? Not what do you want, not what would be nice, not what would impress people. What is actually necessary for you to live a good, dignified, purposeful life? A roof, food, health, work that engages your mind, people who matter, the freedom to think, to learn, to grow. These are the necessities. Everything else, every luxury, every upgrade, every status symbol is optional. It is a bonus. And the moment you confuse a bonus with a necessity, you become a slave. Epictetus, who spent the first 30 years of his life as a literal slave and the remaining years as a philosopher who owned nothing but a mat and a lamp, said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This is financial non-reaction. It is the discipline of looking at money clearly, without fear, without greed, without the distortions of comparison, and making decisions based on reason rather than emotion. When the market drops, the reactive person panics. They sell everything. They stay up all night watching charts. They make impulsive decisions that lock in their losses and guarantee their suffering. They react to the drop as if it were a personal attack, as if the universe specifically targeted their portfolio. The non-reactive person acknowledges the drop. They examine the facts. They consult their strategy, and they either do nothing, because doing nothing is often the most powerful financial decision, or they adjust their position calmly, without panic, without emotional contamination. When a friend buys a new car, the reactive person feels a spike of jealousy, immediately starts calculating how they can afford the same car, and begins making financial decisions driven not by their own values, but by someone else's purchases. They are reacting to another person's life as if it were a commentary on their own. The non-reactive person sees the car, appreciates it, and returns to their own plan. Their financial decisions are based on their values, their goals, their situation, not on what someone else chose to spend their money on. This is harder than it sounds, because we live in an economy that is specifically designed to make you react. Every advertisement is an emotional trigger. Every sale is an artificial deadline. Every luxury product is a promise that you will feel different, better, more confident, more complete, if you just buy this one thing. And the promise is always a lie. You buy the thing, the feeling lasts for a week, and then you need the next thing. This is the hedonic treadmill, and it is powered by your reactions. Every time you react to an advertisement by buying something, every time you react to someone else's success by spending money you do not have, every time you react to your own insecurity by purchasing a new identity, You are feeding the machine, and the machine will never be satisfied. The Stoic solution is not poverty. The Stoics were not against wealth. Oh boy, Seneca was wealthy. Marcus Aurelius was wealthy. They did not believe that money was evil. They believed that attachment to money was enslaving. There is a difference between having money and needing money to feel okay. There is a difference between earning a good living and defining your worth by your income. There is a difference between enjoying comfort and requiring comfort to function. The first is freedom. The second is a cage that is decorated to look like a palace. Here is what I want you to practice. Every time you feel the urge to spend money reactively, to buy something because you are bored, or stressed, or insecure, or jealous, or because something is on sale and it feels like an emergency, pause. Put the phone down. Close the browser. Walk away. And ask yourself, am I making this decision? Thought, or is my emotion making it? If the answer is your emotion, do not spend the money. Not because you cannot afford it, because you cannot afford to let your emotions make your financial decisions. Every dollar you spend reactively is a dollar that was not spent deliberately. And the difference between a reactive financial life and a deliberate financial life is the difference between someone who works for money and someone who makes money work for them. Seneca practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. He would periodically live as if he had lost everything. He would eat simple food, sleep on a hard surface, wear plain clothes. Not because he was punishing himself, because he was training himself. He was inoculating himself against the fear of loss by voluntarily experiencing the loss. Set aside a certain number of days, he wrote, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? Is this the condition that I feared? That question is a weapon against financial anxiety, because when you voluntarily face the worst-case scenario and discover that you can survive it, that you can even be at peace in it, the fear loses its teeth. You are no longer running from poverty. You have visited it. You have sat with it, and you discovered that it cannot destroy you. This is the deepest level of financial non-reaction, not just controlling your spending, not just avoiding impulsive purchases, but fundamentally rewiring your relationship with money so that your peace does not depend on your bank balance, so that you can check your account and feel the same calm whether the number is high or low. Not indifference, equanimity. The calm that comes from knowing that you will be fine either way, because you have built your life on things that cannot be taken by a market crash or a layoff or an unexpected expense. Money comes and goes. Your character stays. Your discipline stays. Your ability to think clearly, to work hard, to create value, to contribute to the world. These things cannot be repossessed. They cannot be lost in a recession. They are yours forever. And when you know that, when you know it not as a concept, but as a lived experience, money becomes a tool instead of a master. You use it. You manage it. You respect it. But you do not worship it. And you certainly do not let it control your mood, your decisions, or your sense of who you are. The less you react to money, the more money respects you. This is not mysticism. This is psychology. Reactive financial behavior, panic selling, impulse buying, jealousy spending, fear hoarding, consistently produces worse outcomes than calm, deliberate, strategic behavior. Every study confirms this. Every successful investor knows this. Every wealthy person who stays wealthy knows this. The poor man reacts to money. The rich man responds to it. And the difference between reaction and response is everything. We have talked about the mouth. We have talked about the mood. We have talked about money. These are the outer walls, the defenses that the world can see. But now we go to the center, to the place where everything begins and everything ends. The mind. Marcus Aurelius called it the inner citadel, a fortress inside you that no army can breach, no enemy can infiltrate, no circumstance can penetrate. A place of absolute sovereignty where you decide what is true, what matters, and who you are. Not the world, not your circumstances, not the opinions of others. You. The inner citadel is not a metaphor. It is as real as the chair you are sitting in. It is the space of pure awareness that exists behind your thoughts, behind your emotions, behind the endless noise of your mental life. It is the part of you that watches everything else. The observer, the witness, the still point at the center of the storm. Most people have never visited their inner citadel. They live their entire lives on the outer walls, exposed to every wind, every attack, every change in weather. They are so identified with their thoughts and emotions that they do not realize there is a place deeper than thoughts and emotions, a place where thoughts and emotions arise, but that is not itself a thought or an emotion. This is what meditation practitioners discover. This is what the Stoics practiced through prosopis. This is what Marcus Aurelius was accessing every night when he sat alone with his journal. He was going inside, past the politics, past the pain, past the pressure, to the still, quiet center where everything was clear. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, he wrote. Constantly, then give to thyself this retreat, and renew thyself. He was the emperor of Rome. He could have retreated to any villa, any island, any paradise in the known world. But the retreat he valued most was the one that required no travel, no expense, and no permission. The retreat inside his own mind. This is what I want to build in you. Not just the ability to control your mouth, your mood, or your money, but the ability to retreat to your inner citadel at will, to step inside yourself, close the gate, and find peace regardless of what is happening outside. The practice begins with understanding a fundamental truth about the mind. You are not your thoughts. This sounds simple. It is not. Because your entire life, you have been identified with your thoughts so completely that the idea of separation feels absurd. When you think, I am angry, you do not experience a thought about anger. You experience yourself as anger. You and the thought merge. There is no gap between you and the emotion. You are consumed. But if you were your thoughts, you would not be able to observe them. The fact that you can watch a thought arise, watch it build, watch it fade, that proves there is a you that is separate from the thought. The thought is an event that occurs within your awareness, but your awareness is not the thought. It is the space in which the thought appears. Think of it this way. A movie plays on a screen. The movie changes constantly. Action, drama, comedy, horror. But the screen never changes. It is always there, unchanged, unaffected, no matter what story plays across its surface. Your awareness is the screen. Your thoughts and emotions are the movie. And right now, you are so absorbed in the movie that you have forgotten the screen exists. The Stoic practice is to remember the screen, to shift your attention from the content of your thoughts to the awareness that contains them. This is not a mystical experience. This is a skill, a trainable, practicable, developable skill that gets stronger every time you use it. When a negative thought arises, instead of immediately believing it and acting on it, you pause. You observe it. You say to yourself, there is a thought about failure. Not I am a failure. but there is a thought about failure. That subtle shift, from first person to third person, creates the gap, the space, the separation between you and the event occurring in your mind. And in that space, you are free, because you can look at the thought clearly, evaluate it, and decide whether to give it your attention or let it pass like a cloud moving across the sky. Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." And the deepest application of this principle is to your own thoughts. It is not your thoughts that disturb you. It is your judgment that your thoughts are true. It is your automatic, unconscious habit of believing every sentence your mind produces, as if your mind were an infallible source of truth. Your mind is not an infallible source of truth. Your mind is a machine that generates thoughts based on past experiences, current fears, habitual patterns, and biological impulses. Some of those thoughts are accurate, many of them are not. And unless you develop the ability to tell the difference, unless you stand at the gate and check the credentials of every thought that arrives, you will live in a house full of intruders, and you will not even know they are there. So this is why people with the same external circumstances have radically different internal experiences. Two people lose their jobs on the same day. One spirals into despair, convinced that life is over, that they are worthless, that nothing will ever work out. The other feels the shock, processes the loss, and begins planning their next move. Same event, different minds, different thoughts, different judgments, different lives. The difference is not intelligence, it is not optimism, it is not privilege. It is the inner citadel. One person has built it, the other has not. One person has a place to retreat to when the world collapses. The other is standing in an open field when the storm hits. You build the inner citadel through daily practice, through the habit of observing your thoughts rather than obeying them, through the discipline of asking, before every reaction, "Is this my reasoned choice, or is this an automatic response?" Through the patience to sit with discomfort without immediately trying to fix it, escape it, or numb it. Marcus Aurelius gave himself a daily practice that I want to share with you. Every evening, before sleep, he would review his day, not with judgment, not with criticism, with observation. He would ask himself 3 questions. First, what did I do today that was guided by reason? These were the moments to celebrate, the moments when he acted from his inner citadel, when he made choices rather than reactions, when he was the person he wanted to be. Second, what did I do today that was guided by emotion? These were the moments to learn from, not to punish himself for, not to wallow in guilt about, simply to notice, and to see clearly where the gap collapsed, where the thought and the reaction merged, where he lost himself in the movie and forgot the screen. Third, what will I do differently tomorrow? This was the commitment, the forward motion, the recognition that mastery is not a destination, but a direction. You do not arrive at non-reaction. You practice it, daily, imperfectly, persistently. This practice takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes at the end of the day. And over time, weeks, months, years, it builds an inner citadel that is virtually unbreakable. Because you are not just reacting to life, you are studying it. You are studying yourself. You are becoming a scientist of your own experience, and the data you collect makes you wiser, calmer, and more powerful with every passing day. I want to tell you something about Epictetus that most people do not know. After his leg was broken, after he was freed from slavery, after he became one of the most respected philosophers in the world, he lived in a small room with a mat, a lamp, and nothing else. He did not do this because he was poor. He was offered wealth by powerful admirers. He refused it. Not because he was against wealth, but because he did not want anything in his external world to have the power to disturb his inner world. He understood that every possession is a potential point of vulnerability. Every luxury is a potential chain. Every comfort is a potential addiction. And the more you need from the outside world to feel okay on the inside, the more power the outside world has over you. This is the deepest layer of non-reaction. It is not just about not reacting to insults or provocations or financial pressure. It is about building a life where fewer and fewer things have the power to provoke a reaction in the first place. Not because you have become numb, because you have become free. There is a difference between a person who is not bothered by an insult because they have suppressed their emotions, and a person who is not bothered by an insult because they genuinely do not care what the other person thinks. The first is wearing armor. The second does not need it. The inner citadel is not armor. It is something much more powerful. It is the realization that there is nothing to protect, that your true self, the awareness behind the thoughts, the screen behind the movie, cannot be harmed. Not by words, not by circumstances, not by loss, not by anything that happens in the external world. When you know this, truly know this in your bones, you stop defending. You stop fighting. You stop reacting. Because there is nothing to defend against. The insults land on the surface and slide off. The provocations arrive and find no purchase. The storms rage, and the inner citadel stands. Not because it is strong, because it was never built from materials that storms can destroy. This is what 2,000 years of Stoic philosophy has been trying to tell you. This is the secret that Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and Zeno all discovered in their own way, through their own suffering, in their own time. And now, in this moment, it is being offered to you. The less you react, the more powerful you become. Not because non-reaction is a strategy, because non-reaction reveals who you actually are. Beneath all the noise, beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the automatic responses that you inherited from a world that profits from your reactivity. You are the citadel. You have always been the citadel, and it is time to come home. There is a dimension of non-reaction that we have not yet explored, and it is perhaps the most painful and the most liberating of all. Your relationships, the people you love, the people who love you, the people you have lost, the people you are losing, and the people you are afraid to lose. This is where non-reaction is tested most severely, because it is easy to be stoic with strangers. It is easy to be calm when the person provoking you does not matter. But when the person provoking you is someone you love, a parent, a partner, a child, or a best friend, every principle you thought you had mastered is suddenly on fire. This is where most people break. This is where the mouth opens, the mood collapses, and all the philosophy in the world seems like nothing more than pretty words on a page. Because love is the most powerful emotional force in human experience. And when love is involved, the stakes feel infinite. But I am going to tell you something that may be difficult to hear, and I need you to stay with me. The Stoic principles do not have an exception clause for love. They do not say, control your reactions unless the person matters to you. They do not say, seek equanimity except in your closest relationships. The principles apply everywhere, and they are most valuable precisely where they are most difficult to practice. Let me explain why. When you react in a relationship, when you say something in anger to someone you love, when you lash out because you feel hurt, when you withdraw because you feel vulnerable, you are not being honest. You are not being authentic. You are being hijacked. Your survival brain has taken the wheel, and it is driving your most precious relationships off a cliff. Think about the worst argument you have ever had with someone you love. Think about the words you said. Were those your words? Were those the carefully chosen, deliberate, thoughtful words of the person you want to be? Or were they the reflexive, defensive, weaponized words of someone who felt threatened and struck back without thinking? Now think about the aftermath, the silence, the guilt, the damage that took days or weeks or months to repair, if it was repaired at all. Think about the cost, not the cost to your ego, the cost to the relationship, the cost to the trust that was built slowly over years and shattered in 30 seconds of reactive speech. This is what reaction does to love. It does not protect it. It destroys it. One sentence at a time, one outburst at a time, one slammed door at a time. And the tragedy is that in most of these moments, the actual problem, the thing that triggered the argument, was small. A misunderstanding, a missed expectation, a feeling that was not communicated clearly. The problem was a spark. Your reaction was the gasoline. And together, they burned down something that took years to build. The Stoic approach to relationships is not about being cold. It is not about being distant. It is not about being emotionally unavailable. It is about being present enough, disciplined enough, and loving enough to choose your response rather than unleashing your reaction. When your partner says something that hurts you, the reactive response is to hurt them back. Eye for an eye. Pain for pain. But Marcus Aurelius asks you a different question. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In a relationship, this means the best response to pain is not to cause more pain. It is to absorb the pain, examine it, understand where it came from, and respond with the clarity that only non-reaction can provide. Because here is the truth about most hurtful things people say. They are not about you. They are about the speaker. When your partner says, "You never listen to me," they are not delivering an accurate assessment of your listening skills. They are expressing a feeling. The feeling of being unheard, unseen, unvalued. And if you react to the words instead of hearing the feeling, you miss the entire point. The reactive person hears, "You never listen to me," and responds with, "That is not true. I always listen to you. Just last week And now, you are in an argument about facts when the conversation was about feelings. You have won the debate and lost the person. The non-reactive person hears, "You never listen to me," and pauses. They look at their partner. They breathe. They let the words settle. And then they say, "Help me understand. When do you feel unheard?" That response costs nothing. It requires no defense, no counterattack, no point scoring. But it changes everything. It transforms a fight into a conversation. It transforms a wall into a door. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In relationships, decide first who you want to be, not who the situation is pushing you to be, not who your emotions are telling you to be. Who do you want to be in this relationship? A person who reacts, or a person who responds? A person who makes things worse when tension arises, or a person who makes things better? A person who is remembered for their outbursts, or a person who is remembered for their calm? I have seen relationships transform, not over months, but over weeks, when one person decides to stop reacting. Just one person. You do not need both partners to change simultaneously. You do not need to have a conversation about it. You do not need to announce, "I am now practicing Stoicism." You just stop. You stop firing back. You stop escalating. You stop meeting anger with anger, withdrawal with withdrawal, criticism with criticism. And at first, the other person will be confused. They are used to the old dynamic. They throw a punch and expect one back. That is the dance you have been doing for years. But now you have stopped dancing. You are standing still, and their punch lands on air. They will escalate. I need you to know this. When someone loses their ability to provoke you, they will try harder. They will say more cutting things. They will push more aggressively. They will test the new boundary because they do not trust it. This is normal. This is expected. And this is where your discipline is most important. Because if you hold, if you stay in your inner citadel while the storm outside intensifies, something miraculous happens. The storm burns itself out. It always does. Anger cannot sustain itself without fuel. Conflict cannot continue with only one participant, and the person who is escalating will eventually stop, exhausted, confused. And this is the part that matters. They will respect you more than they ever did when you were fighting back, because they have encountered something they have never seen before. A person who cannot be moved. A person who does not need to win. A person whose love is so secure, so grounded, so unshakable, that it does not waver even when provoked. That is the most attractive thing a human being can be. Not beautiful, not successful, not clever. Unshakable, grounded, present. A person who is the same in the storm as they are in the sun. Seneca wrote letters to his friend Lucilius about this very thing. Associate with people who are likely to improve you, he wrote. Welcome those who you are capable of improving. This is not about cutting people off. It is about recognizing that your energy is finite and your reactions are expensive. Every reaction costs you. Every time you lose your calm, you pay a price. In cortisol, in damaged trust, in wasted time, in the slow erosion of the person you are trying to become. Choose your battles. Not every provocation deserves a response. Not every argument needs a participant. Not every criticism requires a defense. And not every person who tries to pull a reaction out of you is worth the price of giving one. Some people in your life are there to test you, not consciously, not maliciously, but by their nature, by their unresolved pain, by their habitual patterns. They create friction wherever they go. And the question is not, how do I change them? You cannot. The question is, how do I remain myself in their presence? The answer is always the same. The gap, the space, the inner citadel. The conscious, deliberate choice to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with instinct. There is a particular kind of power that emerges in relationships when you master non-reaction. It is not the power of dominance. It is not the power of control. It is the power of presence. When you are fully present with another person, not planning your rebuttal, not rehearsing your defense, not calculating your next move, but simply there, listening, watching, breathing, you give them something that almost no one else gives them. You give them your full attention, your undivided awareness, your stillness, and in that stillness, something extraordinary happens. The other person begins to relax. Their defenses lower. Their masks slip. They stop performing and start being real. Because they sense, on a level deeper than words, that you are not going to attack. You are not going to judge. You are not going to use their vulnerability against them. This is what it means to be a safe person. Not someone who agrees with everything. Not someone who never challenges. But someone who can hold space for the full range of human emotion without being destroyed by it. Someone who can hear anger without becoming angry. Someone who can witness pain without running from it. Someone who can stand in the middle of someone else's storm and remain the calm. This is the greatest gift you can give another human being. Not your advice, not your solutions, not your opinions, your presence, your stillness, your non-reaction, and it is a gift that keeps giving, because the people who experience it never forget it. They come back to you. They trust you. They open up to you in ways they do not open up to anyone else, and you become, without trying, without maneuvering, without strategy, you become the most important person in their life. Not because you are the most impressive, but because you are the most real, the most grounded, the most safe. That is the power of non-reaction in relationships. It does not diminish love. It deepens it. It doesn't create distance. It creates intimacy. It doesn't make you less human. It makes you the most human you have ever been. You have built the inner citadel. You have sealed the mouth. You have taken sovereignty over your mood. You have freed yourself from the reactive grip of money. You have transformed your relationships through the power of presence. Now you must walk back out into the world. And the world, I need to warn you, hasn't changed. It is still loud. It is still chaotic. It is still designed to provoke you. The news still screams. Social media still manipulates. People still lie, betray, disappoint, and wound. The storms have not stopped. The provocations have not decreased. The invitations to react are everywhere, all the time, relentless. What has changed is you. And that changes everything. Because the world does not need to change for you to be at peace. This is the central insight of Stoic philosophy, the truth that separates it from every other approach to happiness. You do not need to fix the world. You do not need to control your environment. You do not need everyone to behave themselves, to be fair, to be kind, to be reasonable. You need none of these things. You need only yourself, your mind, your discipline, your awareness, your inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire that was falling apart. Plague ravaged his cities. Enemies pressed his borders. Corruption infested his government. By any external measure, his world was failing. And yet his private journal, the Meditations, a book he never intended to publish, reveals a man of extraordinary peace. Not happiness in the superficial sense, not the fake positivity of someone who pretends everything is fine, but deep, genuine, hard-won peace. The kind of peace that can only come from a mind that has accepted reality without surrendering to it. So accept the things to which fate binds you, he wrote, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Accept and love, not resist and resent. Accept the reality of your situation, the world as it is, not as you wish it were. And within that acceptance, find the space to love, to work, to build, to serve. This is not passive resignation. This is active engagement without reactive suffering. There is a concept in Stoicism called amor fati, the love of fate. It does not mean that everything that happens is good. It means that everything that happens is material. Raw material that you can use to build something. The insult becomes an opportunity to practice patience. The failure becomes an opportunity to practice resilience. The loss becomes an opportunity to practice detachment. The betrayal becomes an opportunity to practice forgiveness. Nothing is wasted. Every single thing that happens to you can be transformed by the right mind into fuel for growth. The obstacle becomes the path. The wound becomes the teacher. The enemy becomes the training partner. Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic philosophy, expressed it this way: "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." But the Stoics would refine this. It is not automatic. Hardship does not automatically make you stronger. Hardship that is met with non-reactive awareness makes you stronger. Hardship that is met with reactive suffering makes you weaker. The same fire that hardens steel melts ice. The difference is not the fire, it is the material. You must become steel. And the way you become steel is through daily, disciplined, a persistent practice of non-reaction, not perfection. Practice. You will fail. You will react. You will lose your temper, say something you regret, make a financial decision driven by fear, collapse into an emotional spiral. This will happen. It happens to everyone. It happened to Marcus Aurelius. The difference is what you do after the failure. The reactive person fails and then reacts to their failure. They feel guilty. Then they react to the guilt by punishing themselves. They make a mistake. Then they react to the mistake by spiraling into self-criticism. Reaction upon reaction upon reaction, like dominoes falling in an endless chain. The non-reactive person fails and then observes the failure. They note it. They learn from it. And they return to practice. No drama, no spiral, no self-flagellation. Just a calm acknowledgement that this is part of the process, followed by a return to the work. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When force of circumstance upsets your equanimity, lose no time in recovering your self-control, and do not remain out of tune longer than you can help. Habitual recurrence to the harmony will increase your mastery of it." Lose no time. Do not lose your equanimity in the first place. Even the emperor acknowledged that you will be knocked off balance. The goal is not to never fall. The goal is to get back up quickly, to return to the citadel, to re-enter the gap, to reclaim your sovereignty before the reaction has time to set roots and grow into a pattern. Now let me talk about something practical, something you will face every single day when you walk out into the world with this philosophy in your chest. Other people will not understand you. They will not understand why you are quiet when they expect you to be loud. They will not understand why you are calm when they expect you to be angry. They will not understand why you are not participating in the drama, the gossip, the outrage, the endless cycle of action and reaction that constitutes social life for most people. Some of them will admire you. They will sense something different about you, a gravity, a stillness, a depth, and they will be drawn to it without being able to name it. These people will become your closest allies. They are the ones who are ready for what you have found. They may not call it Stoicism. They may not know the names Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, but they recognize the frequency, and they want to be near it. Others will resent you. Your calm will feel like a judgment. Your silence will feel like an accusation. Your refusal to participate in their reactive patterns will feel like rejection. And they will try, consciously or unconsciously, to pull you back down. They will call you cold. They will call you emotionless. They will say you think you are better than everyone else. They will use every tool at their disposal to provoke a reaction, because your non-reaction threatens the story they tell themselves about how the world works. Let them say what they need to say. Let them think what they need to think. Their opinion of your philosophy is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to live it. Quietly. Consistently. Without announcement. Without defense. Without explanation. Epictetus said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" That is humor. That is perspective. That is the response of a man who is so secure in his inner citadel that criticism bounces off him like rain off stone. He does not deny it. He does not fight it. He simply points out that the criticism is incomplete. If they really knew him, they would have found much worse to say. This is the lightness that comes with non-reaction. When you stop taking everything personally, when you stop treating every opinion as a verdict and every comment as a conviction, life becomes lighter, funnier, more spacious. You can breathe. You can laugh. You can walk through the noise without absorbing it. I want to address something that many people ask when they encounter Stoic philosophy for the first time. If I stop reacting, will I lose my passion? Will I become numb? Will I stop caring about things? The answer is no. Emphatically, categorically, absolutely no. Non-reaction is not non-feeling. It is non-impulse. You feel everything. You feel it fully. You feel the anger, the love, the grief, the joy, the fear, the hope, but you do not act on the impulse. You observe the feeling. You learn from it. And then you choose, with the full power of your rational mind, what to do next. This is not less passionate than the reactive life. It is more passionate, because when you react, you are a slave to your impulses. You do not choose your passion. Your passion chooses you. But when you respond, you are a sovereign. For you choose what matters. You choose where to direct your energy. You choose what to fight for and what to let go. And a chosen passion is infinitely more powerful than an automatic one. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most compassionate emperors Rome ever had. He founded hospitals for the poor. He established schools for orphans. He spent his personal fortune on relief for cities devastated by plague. He did all of this not because he was reacting to suffering. He did it because he chose to respond to it. Deliberately, strategically, with the full weight of his power and his mind behind it. That is what non-reaction looks like in action. Not withdrawal, not indifference. Targeted, deliberate, powerful engagement with the world. Engagement that is guided by reason rather than driven by emotion. Engagement that builds rather than burns. There's a passage in the Meditations that I think about every single day. Marcus wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Not be successful, not be famous, not be admired. Be good. That is the purpose. That is the direction. That is what the inner citadel is for, not to protect you from the world, but to enable you to serve it. Without reactive suffering clouding your judgment, without impulsive behavior wasting your energy, without the endless drama of an uncontrolled mind distracting you from the work that matters. You are here for a reason, not a cosmic, metaphysical reason, a practical one. You are here because you have a contribution to make, something that only you can give. And every moment you spend reacting to provocations, defending yourself against opinions, and losing yourself in emotional spirals is a moment stolen from that contribution. The world needs you, not the reactive, defensive, fearful version of you. The real you, the still, present, grounded, powerful version of you that lives inside the inner citadel. The version that speaks only when silence is not enough. The version that acts only when reason demands it. The version that moves through the world like water, yielding, adapting, flowing around obstacles instead of crashing against them. That version of you has been waiting, patiently, silently. In the center of the storm, it has been waiting for you to come home. And now you know the way. We have reached the final chapter. And this chapter is not about technique. It is not about practice. It is not about strategy or discipline or philosophy. It is about you, the real you, the one who will remain when everything else falls away. There is a moment that is coming for each of us, a moment when the body stops, when the breath ends, when the noise finally, irrevocably, permanently goes silent. You know this. I know this. Every philosopher who ever lived knew this. and every word we have spoken today exists in the shadow of this knowledge. Marcus Aurelius thought about death every day, not with fear, with clarity. He used death as a lens, a way of seeing the present with perfect focus. "Think of yourself as dead," he wrote. "You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. You have lived your life. The part of it that is gone, the years that have already passed, the words already spoken, the reactions already given, that is finished. It is written. It cannot be edited. You cannot go back and unreact. You cannot go back and unspeak. What is done is done. But what is left, the part that begins now, this second, with this breath, that is yours. Fully, completely, without reservation, it is yours. And the question is, what will you do with it? Will you spend it reacting? Will you burn the remaining hours, days, and years on arguments that do not matter, opinions that do not serve you, and emotions that are not even yours? Or will you live it? Live it. That is the imperative. Not survive it. Not endure it. Not get through it. Live it. With presence. With purpose. With the calm, clear, powerful awareness of someone who understands that every moment is both infinitely precious and absolutely temporary. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. If it were all well invested." Those words should haunt you, because most of us invest our time the way a reactive person invests their money, impulsively, emotionally, without strategy, and then we are shocked when we arrive at the end with nothing to show for it. Every reaction is a bad investment. Every time you lose your calm, you are spending your most precious resource, time and energy, on a return that is negative. You gain nothing from the argument. You gain nothing from the outburst. You gain nothing from the hours spent replaying a conversation in your head. These are investments that lose 100% of their value the moment you make them. The non-reactive person invests differently. They invest their calm in their work. They invest their silence in their relationships. They invest their discipline in their health. They invest their presence in their purpose. And the returns compound. Day after day, year after year, the non-reactive person grows stronger, wiser, more capable, more respected, more at peace. And when the end comes, as it comes for all of us, they are not scrambling. They are not panicking. They are not filled with regret. They are ready, not because they have accomplished everything, but because they invested everything they had. This is the legacy of non-reaction. It is not a monument or a title or a number in a bank account. It is the memory people carry of who you were, how you made them feel, how you stood in the storms, how you spoke when you chose to speak, how you listened when others needed to be heard, how you remained yourself, your true self, the still, quiet, powerful self, when the world tried to make you into something else. People will not remember what you said in anger. They will remember what you said in calm. They will not remember the arguments you won. They will remember the arguments you chose not to have. They will not remember the moments you proved yourself right. They will remember the moments you chose to be kind instead. This is what Marcus Aurelius left behind. Not the battles, not the laws, not the borders of the empire. He left behind a journal, a small private book of conversations with his own soul. And 2,000 years later, it is still being read, still changing lives, still teaching people how to find peace in a world that offers none. He did not write it for us. He wrote it for himself. But it survived. Because truth survives. Because wisdom survives. because the words of a person who has done the inner work, who has built the citadel, sealed the mouth, mastered the mood, freed themselves from the grip of money and fear and reactive impulse. Those words carry a weight that time cannot erode. You may not write a book. You may not build an empire. You may not be remembered by history. But you will be remembered by the people whose lives you touched, the partner who felt safe in your presence, the child who learned calm from watching you, the friend who trusted you because you never weaponized their vulnerability, the stranger who encountered you on a difficult day and walked away feeling lighter because something in your energy told them, everything is going to be fine. That is your legacy, and it starts today. It starts now. It starts with this breath, and this choice, and this commitment. I will not react. Not because I am weak, because I am awake, because I understand that my reactions are the most expensive thing I own, and I am no longer willing to spend them on people and situations that do not deserve them. I will speak when my words improve upon the silence. I will stay calm when the world around me chooses chaos. I will manage my money with reason instead of fear. I will protect my mind like the sacred territory it is. And I will walk through this world with the quiet, unshakable presence of someone who has found the one thing that cannot be taken: my peace. Epictetus, the man who was born a slave and became one of the freest human beings who ever lived, left us with these words: no man is free who is not master of himself. Master yourself. Not the world. Not other people. Not the economy, the weather, the news, the opinions of strangers, or the behavior of the people you love. Master yourself. Because the less you react, the more powerful you become. The less noise you make, the louder your presence. The less you chase, the more arrives. The less you need, the more you have. And the less you try to control the world outside, the more you discover the infinite world within. This is Stoic philosophy. This is 2,000 years of human wisdom, I condensed into 80 minutes, offered to you freely, without condition. The only price is your old self, the reactive one, the one who flinched at every provocation and burned at every insult and chased every approval and feared every loss. That person is dead now, and the person who remains, calm, quiet, powerful, free, that person was always here, waiting, in the center of the storm. Welcome home.